Hey there, friends of St. Paul's. Today's Wednesday, October 14th, and today we're going to spend a little time with Psalm 107. Hear the first three verses of this psalm. Oh, give thanks to the Lord who is good, whose steadfast love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, those who God redeemed from trouble and gathered in from the lands, from the east and from the west, from the north and from the south. Word of God, word of life, thanks be to God. Well, I wanted to spend some time with this psalm today because there's something special about it to me. Verse 2 reads, Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, those God redeemed from trouble. And this psalm is one that we might classify as a reorientation psalm. There's a few categories of psalms. There's disorientation, when people are feeling totally cut off, totally despairing. There's several psalms like that. There's also orientation psalms where the psalmist hasn't had anything too bad happen to them yet, and they're just praising God for God's faithfulness in the good times, and they haven't experienced the bad yet. And then there's this third category, my favorite category of psalms, reorientation psalms. These are psalms where the psalmist is writing about God's faithfulness in time of trouble on the other side. So this psalmist has written these good words about God's provision and God's faithfulness after experiencing some real hardship. When I was a kid, I heard a lot about the gospel and evangelism and sharing the story of Jesus with other people. But it never really felt like something that was very natural to me. It often felt pretty awkward to think about telling the story of Jesus. What was that supposed to mean? Was I supposed to tell my friends at play practice, oh, did you know Jesus died and was raised? And if I wasn't comfortable doing that, it often felt like I was some bad Christian or that I didn't know how to witness to people, because telling the story of Easter after the crucifixion didn't feel that relevant to my regular life experiences with other people, especially people who weren't already part of the Christian faith. And even those who were, I didn't find myself talking with them about the Bible very often. Do you feel like this? Have you ever wondered, what does it really mean to witness, to talk about Jesus, if I'm uncomfortable simply telling the story of Good Friday and Easter? And really, what impact might that have anyway? It wasn't until several years later, when I had had some really important conversations with a few mentors and more time to think about what evangelism really meant, that it got to the core for me of what it is that we're called to do is to share good news. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. In Lutheran tradition, we spend a lot of time in our brains, and I love it there. We read a lot of theology, and we think about it, and we apply it to everyday life. But the role of testimony is not a huge thing in our denominational family. But it is for many other Protestant Christians. And I think there's something special to learn there. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. What does it mean to say that you have been redeemed by God? What does it mean to tell a story of good news when that Easter story came to life in your own experience? This week, I want to challenge you. Let the redeemed of the Lord, you say so. Think about the stories of where God has been present in time of trouble and brought you through to the other side. If you need some inspiration, this might be a great time to look to African American spirituals in our religious identity. There are many songs. One that I love to listen to is Aretha Franklin's How I Got Over. This is a song about redemption. We are the redeemed of the Lord. Christ has liberated us from all that keeps us bound. And while this may feel abstract, I think everybody has a story like this. It may be big, it may be small. For me, I know when I was in seminary, my second year of seminary, I really struggled with depression. I was having a really hard time. Things were challenging. I felt isolated. I had some conflict with people I lived with. And then something happened that just sort of sent me into a dark spiral of sorrow. And as I was feeling despairing, I talked to a friend about it, and my friend was there for me. And eventually, it felt like I had been wandering in a room that was dark for a long time, and I couldn't find the way out. And suddenly, someone turned on a light that I didn't even know was there. Then I could see my pathway out of that space and back toward what felt more like wholeness for me in my life. I don't know if you have times like this when you've been really struggling and somehow something that you can't always explain happened that redeemed you, that got you to the other side. And that's not to say that we don't still struggle. I still have some challenges with depressive feelings or anxiety, especially in these days of pandemic. But I know that God was with me, and I can point to a time in my life when I felt that I couldn't do it on my own, and somehow I got over to the other side. God made a way. So this week, as uncomfortable as it may be for you, I want to encourage you to take this verse of Psalm 107 into yourself. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Think about your life, times of trouble, times of desolation, and how God was present to you, and how God brought you through the wilderness to the other side. God is always with us, even when we're struggling and suffering and we don't feel that we've yet reached some resolution or been redeemed, so to speak. Christ is always with us. In the cross, it's revealed that Jesus is present in suffering, and that means our suffering too. But this week, I just want you to consider those times in your life when you look back and you say, man, I don't know how I made it out. And recognize that that might be the presence of God in your life. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. May God be with you this week as you consider where God has been present before. And may you possibly take a moment to share that story with someone else. Because when we're asked to share the gospel, that doesn't mean read someone a few chapters from the end of the Gospel of Luke. It means talk about how resurrection is real. How have you experienced being reinvigorated by the Spirit of God? Where have you seen someone else come back to life? This is our work as Christians. God is so gracious in being with us, in bringing redemption and liberation to us. And now we get to respond by thinking deeply about that and telling the story. I love to tell the story. Don't you? God be with you.